Bolling.
And I'm MidnightAce.
And I'm Cara Morris.
Welcome to Here We Go Again, a weekly discussion of books, hooks, and corks, where we give our views on read, music, and wine. Let's get started with Here We Go Again.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another week of Well, There You Go.
I'm so glad you got the title right.
I'm your host this week, Cara Morris, aka MsPrissy. And my co-host today is Miss Iris Bolling, best-selling author and MidnightAce Book Bar of Creative Confessions. I
Hey,
can't
everybody.
repeat that more. But we are here today, and we will be discussing the Gems and Gents continuation. And the book we will be discussing is A Lassiter Christmas, and the sister of the Lassiters. So let's get started, ladies.
Hey.
Hey, everybody.
How's everybody doing?
I'm doing well today.
MsPrissy and her shenanigans.
Look, I tried. I think I did great. But anyway, I'm excited about discussing this book because Pearl is tough. She is a real tough cookie.
Mm-hmm.
A
I
tough
have to
nut to
agree.
crack.
I have to agree with you on that one.
And even her parents
And her brothers. Who are
Yes.
tough in their own right.
Yes, she's that. Well, I have a question. So, when you're engaged, what do you think is a standard time from the time you get engaged to actually get married?
A year to 2 years.
And you, Midnight?
Well, I think it depends on the couple and the situation. You know, some people don't like long engagements, and some of them like because the circumstances. A lot of people like to wait until they finish school before they get married.
That's true.
They like to
depends on what's going on in their lives.
Yeah.
A lot of time, people use the engagement period to plan out their wedding and save up for the different things that they want to do, for the honeymoon and things like that. So that's usually what people use that engagement period.
So do you think it should take 7 years?
No, 7 years is a bit much. And then in some states, 7 years is common law marriage.
Common law marriage. You're married after 5 years, so.
Very true.
Well,
Miss Lassiter is in a class all by herself.
That's
definitely one outside of the Lassiter clan for sure.
Yeah, at least this Lassiter sister, because she will take you there. So let's jump in, ladies.
She did. She took Theo there. I mean, I don't think anybody who read this story can say that Theo was not a patient man.
Honey,
he was.
Very much so. He was a very patient man.
But there also goes to say too, when the heart wants what the heart wants, and his was definitely on there. But I think, in jumping, you guys, because I always jump around, but whenever we get to a point, but I will say in this particular relationship, he had a lot going against him, and some people would just say forget it, because this particular relationship and trying to make it right for him and for her, because he was since he was patient, he was considerate, he was all those things you want in a maid, but at every turn, Pearl just like
she wasn't ready. She kept putting him off.
She was kicking him at every turn.
But
but the mother too.
When I was going back through the story, when I was reading back through the story, one thing hit me that did not hit me when I was writing it. And what hit me was that Theo wanted a love like his parents.
Yes, he did.
Mhm.
His parents had a love that had to be fought for. They had to fight for
Right.
their love. Remember, even the mother had to fight against the mother-in-law.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. Which she
so
forgotten.
And the father lost his trust fund to be with the woman that he didn't love, and
exactly.
they had to start from the bottom up.
So
Mhm.
Theo knew what real love looked like because he experienced it all his life,
Right.
all his life. So he was looking for a love like his
His
parents. And Pearl, it wasn't when she started fighting him with the lug wrench on the tire. He knew that was his fighter. That was his fighter.
Well, one thing for sure, Pearl knew how to do was fight. She
Yes.
just
Yes.
in this part, she didn't engage in the right fight.
I agree.
Engage in the right fight.
I agree. But Pearl, if you have followed the Lassiters, you've seen different facets of Pearl.
True.
And Pearl, we have to say, Pearl is the one Lassiter that really did stand out on her own. Pearl was that one Lassiter who she did her own thing and she did it her own way, and she didn't care whether you liked it or didn't like it, or whatever. But Pearl just did her thing. And here's the other thing about it: of all of the Lassiters, really Pearl was the one with the highest ranking position.
She really was.
Isn't that crazy? Because we would think Joshua, Adam, Samuel,
right.
But no, Pearl.
She was right up there with James Brooks.
Yes.
Yeah, she was.
Yes.
And just to think how she started, though, too. You know what I mean? Like when she started, all of the Lassiters, what I love about the Lassiters was, it was almost like their DNA. They were bred to do what they did because it was no figuring it out. Like right after graduation, they were there. And in some cases they was pulled out before graduated. They were already
in those fields.
And working as government agents.
High school or college or whatever.
Yeah.
That's true. But Pearl says she started out in radio, and her and her boss had disagreements on politics.
Mm-hmm.
Who she would be in politics when she was at a different degree. And just
now she's the person. Now she's the person that really the world looks at for politics, for political news, what's happening at the White House. She is that person that the world recognizes as the one to communicate to them what is happening in the administration.
Yes.
Now
I have a question. Go ahead, Iris. I have a question.
Pearl was really, really the highest ranking of all of her brothers and sisters, which is crazy when you think about what all of them do.
Right.
Yeah. I think. My question is that when things got real was when JD won the election.
Yes.
Okay. And so at that point in the relationship, Pearl was kind of semi-committed, but she wasn't all in yet. That door was still open and her foot was still holding it open because she wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
But now, what do you think about, what is your thoughts about the situation that happened when Theo was there and he realized that this was not going to be in his mind? What do you feel about that? Do you think at that point, he moved too soon, or do you agree with his decision to walk away?
I agree with his decision to walk away. Yeah. It had to be put in my mind when I was writing the story. Pearl had to be the one that made that step to permanence.
Mm-hmm.
Pearl had to be the one to be sure that this is where and who she wanted to be with. And I think Theo recognized that. If he wanted to have her for a lifetime, she was the one who was going to have to make that step. He'd asked her to marry him, 3 times?
Yeah.
And that third time, when, he didn't get that answer, I think he was right. He left that blue box there.
He did.
For her to make a decision on what she wanted to do. He didn't take it back with him when she said, I don't even remember what she said, but something came up, somebody interrupted them, or something like that.
They said that she was needed with the president.
With the president. And really that's what that life is like. That unfortunately, when you have a person where one person is involved in politics like that, the country comes first. And that person who is married to them, they have to understand it, because it's for a short period of time. It's either for 4 years or 8 years, right? So it's for a short period of time. That person who's going to be her partner had to be willing to share her with the world, for 8 years. Where Pearl's problem came in, it wasn't the 8 years, it was the 7 years before that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was that's a long period of time for a young man.
Let me tell you my best part. I can't, like you said, that period of time. But when Theo went to the Lassiter's home and Sally was throwing back that rum, what she said, "You the stupidest person."
Oh yes.
I was like,
she was right.
Taken aback when she said that.
She was right. I'm sure he was. But she was right though.
I thought about it, but when I first read it, and and she said it, I agreed with her, but I was still, well, damn, Sally.
Well, the other thing too, I liked, there was a couple of moments that Theo had with Sally and Joe at the table or wherever. And one of the things was I remember he saying something about don't disrespect your parents like that.
Parents at the table.
I thought for sure when I first read that she was gonna hop up and start humbugging, because that was just who she was. Like, how you gonna tell me how to engage in my parents, how to engage with my parents? But it was funny though.
It was the for the listening audience purposes, we're discussing Lassiter's Christmas. And this is the story of Pearl Lassiter, who was the second oldest daughter in the Lassiter clan of 12. So she's the second oldest daughter, and Pearl kind of went through something in high school that really outlined her life.
Yeah,
she went through something in high school that really set her on this path of being alone, being a woman, an independent woman, and not dependent on a man for anything except for that sexual gratification. Pearl had a good time with her sex.
She did.
Let's make
she
sure
had
we
Brian.
understand that.
She had to have a good time.
Okay, so she had a good time with that, but she never let anybody get close to her. She did not allow anybody to get close to her. So when Theo came along, here was this man, this what do you call it?
Doctor.
No. I know it was a doctor. Her knight in shining armor.
Oh, yeah.
Who came to save her from that old car.
That old car. Look, when he said it's like
the cars. I think, and the other part about it is I like that the car symbolizes how the Lassiters connect with each other. Because their car went down from this brother and then to this brother, and then it came down to Pearl, right? And she was keeping that car for all dear life.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah, I didn't think a car could get up to 300,000.
Well, no, it was a Nissan, and they can.
Nissans can.
Yeah, they can.
Nissans can. Believe me, and I know because I had that gold Nissan.
I had a few myself, so I do know.
I had that gold Nissan, and I know that gold Nissan was doing this thing. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, I got my shirt on backwards.
Okay, nobody
I
knew
don't
that.
think the listening audience wants me to know that.
I just noticed it. But back to the gold Nissan.
Yeah, these are your shenanigans.
Right. We all have our moments.
So we do. We all have our moments. But that car symbolizes what the Lassiters were about. Because even remember in one of the other stories, Opal passes her car down to fire. Yeah. You know. So the car symbolizes what the Lassiters were all about. But in this story, because of what happened to Pearl in high school, she was hard on the brother. She was hard on the brother. But it was something about Pearl that caught Theo in that car. Remember when he was driving her from the hospital in the snow, and she said, "Let me out right here." And he said, "I'm not letting you out to walking away in the snow," because he was venturing into a neighborhood or to an area that he had never been. And you know, that's a little uncomfort. When you do that, even now, when we go into areas or neighborhoods we've never been there, we become a little uncomfortable. And
I know I do.
He was a little uncomfortable, and she took it immediately as him not wanting to cross the railroad tracks, so to say, right? And his whole thing was, well, he never been there, so he don't know, you know, what the neighborhood is about or anything like that. But from the very beginning, he didn't take anything off of her. He didn't let her put those little things in there and those little sly comments in there and let them go. He addressed every single one of them.
He did.
But even before
Theo, when he got her home in front of her house, and Joe was getting out of his car, and he was him and Pearl was going back and forth, and then she just walked in his house. So he thought he was just going to go, and Joe was like, "No, you're not." And he's told him, he's like, "I'm not asking."
but even with that conversation, Theo was bold from way go, because she was coming at him with a crowbar, right? He still engaged her, even wrapped his hand. Now, this is where I thought things was going to really go left. When he wrapped his legs around her to hold her still, I thought, no, I know she knows self-defense. He could have gotten hurt. And then the other part is when you talked about MsPrissy, when he had that conversation when Joe came out, I thought he was bold in saying, no disrespect, but your daughter is,
he's like,
right. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to go left for him. So
that's when Joe's like, this is going to be my son-in-law.
Right. But this is where those two were almost alike in that, because they didn't have no problem speaking their minds. Right. So.
Yeah. When he said that, I was like, but also when Theo laid that kiss on her, and he put he put his leg in between her legs so that she don't kick him.
She wouldn't kick him.
Smart man.
That was bold for him to do that in front of her parents.
Right.
It was bold, but it also established who the man in this relationship was going to be.
And that's what Pearl needed. If it was any other person, they would not have made it. They would not.
No. And then too, I love that Fire was there, because Fire was just a news reporter.
Yes.
She just told
everything
at that age, she told everything. So
but she did make it. Remember when they was at the table and she was going to go back to bed, and she was like, "Well, I'll see you again. I'll see you another time, Theo." And Pearl was like, "Who said they was going to see him again?" She didn't believe that Theo would be around, and Fire was right.
Yeah, well, she say that kiss said he gonna be back again or something like that.
That was,
And then I like how Joe said, yeah, can y'all just close the door?
No, he after
no, he
left,
told
and he
Pearl,
told
after
Pearl.
he told Pearl, close the door, you letting all the cold air in.
So funny.
You know. So I really thought that was great. But I also like the way that Theo handled the family council. Not the family council, but the
interrogation. It was more of an interrogation.
The family interrogations, because at that time you came to date a Lassiter, especially a sister. You know, you had to go through the interrogation. And I like the way that he handled that, but I loved what Joshua said. He said, a gun or a bomb. And Theo said, I prefer neither, but I would go with the bomb. Is absolutely, it's absolutely.
Yeah, he was a shoe in.
He was a shoe in at that point.
Josh was like, he got my vote.
He got my vote.
But it's funny how I think when I read more of the Lassiters, when I it's like some of the ones, Sally, they come through Sally first and she already vets them. But then he was already a shoe in with Sally and Joe. But then they go through this thing and then Pearl is getting up like she ain't never did it before. And then Sally keeps telling her, you got to sit down. Like, this, it's your turn.
This, right.
You done did this, I don't know how many times. So, it's your turn now. So
she used to get off on it. Especially when it was the girls, because, she didn't feel no man was good enough
for her sister. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you another interesting part. When Theo invited her to his mother's birthday party and he ain't tell her no dress code or nothing. And when she walked in there and people was looking at her, and I know at first she probably felt at odds, but then his mother was a trip. And when they was at that table and Pearl finally told her off and left, I thought everybody's just gonna applaud her. Like
they did, and they
did.
I was like,
but through the whole thing, I really loved Theo's father's reaction to everything. He was like, oh, come on and dance with me and we can have a dance for your birthday party. And then later on, you can show me how much you appreciate it. He didn't even acknowledge that she just got told off or anything like that because she got what she deserved.
Right.
She did. And my other favorite part is when she went to Sally's house trying to tell Sally, about her daughter not being, and oh my gosh, I thought Sally was going to knock her out.
The best part was when Fire said, well, you should come to the neighborhood more often because I got somebody who can do that weed better and make it look good.
Yeah, that was.
But then Cynthia chimed in too. And I missed this part like when I had read it first, but Cynthia apparently knew that family. She had to know that family because
she did.
She
did because they was from that same class.
So because I'm not saying she had the insight on the family, and she even told the mother like, you need to be more concerned about losing your son.
Right. And he came over. She called him.
Somebody called.
Cynthia
that was Cynthia.
Yeah. Cynthia called him and said, "Hey, your mama over here. You better get over here."
Right. she get a whipped on.
Yeah.
And
that was funny how she just coming in, and then I it's funny how, and I know this happens, but it is funny how people have enough gall to come in somebody's home
but people do. People think that they can just come in and say whatever it is that they want to say in your house.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. I get that it's your son and you want what's best for them. All mothers do want what's best for their kids.
True.
But to go to somebody's house and disrespect them is just over the top.
Yeah, but she wasn't the only one. Who else was it? I can't remember. It's in somebody else's book who came. Oh, of course, Sasha's mama.
Mm. Oh, but remember in that one when she came, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm gonna apologize to the audience for a second. I just listened to an international affair again this weekend while I was walking around the house cleaning. And man, it was certain parts of that audiobook that just had me cracking the hell up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when she just mentioned when Stephanie came over to Sally's them house, and
Yeah.
Sally said, you know, my husband don't like you.
Yes.
And I don't like you.
Don't like you either.
You know, she was just straight up. I don't like you either, you know.
Right.
And stuff like that. But that part, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
The way that he read it, it was just hilarious. So shout out to Winston James for that, because he nailed that part of it. I'm telling you, it was hilarious.
Yeah,
but back to people being bold, for whatever reason, people really did not appreciate what the Lassiters were to the world.
Right.
You know, because at this time, remember, this story went over a span of time. Mm-hmm. So you got when they first met, and then you got when they got together. It was at Christmas time when they got together for real. Mm-hmm. And then it went a span of years to when she was JD. She was now press secretary to JD.
Right.
I also like the way that we followed her career. Because remember, she was hired by James Brooks as just to be the press secretary for somebody who was thinking about running for a political office, right? And then you followed her career just like you followed JD's career, right? Yeah. And then when she got the election night and everything that happened on election night, you saw immediately where Theo went from that hurt man, that broken man who was walking out that door, to that doctor that had to kick in, and he had to start saving lives of what was going on. So you also saw how compassionate Theo was about what he does for a living. And so it was this particular story went over a span of time. It's a short book.
Yeah.
It's a short book, but it went over a span of time.
Right.
You know, for
other things and other books was still happening. That's what I liked about it. So when you went to read those other books, you'd be like, oh, that must have happened while, so and so. At least I did. So yeah. But you know what other part I forgot to mention when Joe first met him? And he said, your daughter's bitchy. And Joe said, yeah, Pearl would make you go against the
hypocritical.
I was like, damn, Joe, that's your daughter.
But he was telling the truth. Just like
he was keeping it real.
But the thing about Sally and Joe is they knew their children very well.
Yes, they do.
They knew their children very well. And they knew Pearl was going to give him hell. But they also, when he sat down at that table, y'all know he was an in at that point. When he sat down at that table and started eating.
Yes.
Oh, that cobbler was feeding him that cobbler.
Yes.
He was.
So you need to make that cobbler for me, Iris, because I know you make it. So
I do. I love making. Which one you want? Actually, my favorite is blackberry cobbler.
Yeah, I got it blackberry, but it has to be that crust has to be.
The crust has to be the crust is the key to any cobbler. It has to be just right. But I also love an apple and peach cobbler mix where you put both apples.
Yeah, you can make that one for me. You can keep the blackberry.
The blackberry cobblers are girl.
I like fresh blackberries. That's it.
But you can't pick your own. That's how I learned how to make cobblers. Was we picked our own blackberries, and my grandmother would make the cobblers and things. So. But anyway, we talk about food now, girl. Don't talk about food. I'm hungry. But I do love when I do the apple and the peach one mixed together. That is really, really good. Okay. And sometimes I put a little
rum.
I would put a little whiskey in the juices just to give it a kick. Just to give it a kick. But anyway, y'all, we're not talking about.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, but he enjoyed that cobbler. Well, he smelt it when he was.
He did. Like, that's another thing about all of the Lassiter books. You get some good food, don't you?
They do. My favorite is the fight over who's potato salad and what the macaroni cheese?
The macaroni cheese. And they have to vote on it. And Cynthia said, I'll be the judge. Cynthia was the judge for everything.
Because she sure wasn't cooking in nobody's kitchen, that's for sure.
Yeah. No. But and then Fire called her mother saying they trying to make her judge the food. Yeah.
But also when we went to remember when we went to Jay's apartment in New York?
Yeah.
And they could smell and they knew it was Ruby. When they walked in the apartment building and they stepped off the elevator,
yeah,
they knew Ruby was in the house because they could smell the cooking. So with the Lassiters, you got good family conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You always get good food, and you're gonna get some good loving.
You give good love. I agree with you totally.
Yeah,
you be putting it
down. I think, like I said, for overall for Pearl though, and if you've ever met any of the Lassiter's kids, you know that Pearl was the toughest one. And I mean, even the guys had said something to the like when Theo came to see her, they were like, "You came to see Pearl."
Pearl. They said, "Oh no, you came to see Jade." No,
yeah, right. You sure it ain't Jade?
You sure it's not Opal?
Right.
No. I'm here to see Pearl.
Yeah.
And I also like how they kept saying, we'll see you at Sunday dinner. And Pearl was like, he's not coming to Sunday dinner. And then the next time, he said, well, why don't you come over for Sunday dinner? No, he's not coming over for Sunday dinner. And then what happens?
He there for Sunday
dinner.
Well, I like the fact that even though he was invited by Sally,
everybody and Joe.
Yeah, Joe told Pearl to ask, but he's like, I'll wait for Pearl to ask me.
Yeah.
I thought
and then when she finally did ask him, he had smiled like he had the biggest secret ever.
Yeah, he's like, well, I could have came anyway because your parents already invited me.
Could have said that. That wouldn't have ended well for him.
Yeah, I think I think it would have went all right. I think that Joe and Sally felt like Theo was the right one for Pearl.
I think Pearl felt like it, and that's why she was so. I think that's why she was so
fighting
it. She was fighting it. But this is how you knew Pearl. Pearl knew she was going to see that man. That's why she wore that killer dress.
Yeah.
Remember when she walked into work the next day?
Yes.
Everybody kept talking about that dress. She was wearing that killer dress. And she knew she was going to see him. That's why she had that killer dress on.
One of the things that surprised me about Pearl too was that her and Brian, that initially surprised me that those two was together. I mean, it makes sense now because they was like two peas in a pod, just trying to find somebody to love, I guess, without any attachments.
No, they wasn't looking for love. Both of them was looking for somebody who could satisfy their bodies.
Right.
Because remember, Brian wasn't looking for love, and Pearl, sure enough, wasn't looking for love.
Right. And you know what I liked about Brian and Pearl's relationship? Okay, so by the time each one of them, after Brian got hurt, even though they wasn't really seeing each other like that, she still made sure she checked on him and that he was all right and taking his medicines and everything.
For sure.
I guess she told Thea, you don't have to worry about it, whatever, but she still stayed a friend with him. Sometimes in relationship, if God know that's your ex or somebody you was bunking with, they don't want to, they don't want you to be involved like that anymore.
Neither one of them had that issue.
Huh?
He did initially have some issue when he had a concern. I wouldn't say a full-on issue, but he had a concern about that.
Well, I think Game recognized Game, and I think Brian recognized immediately when Theo walked into her office that day.
Yeah, because he asked him all these questions.
Immediately recognized, okay, this is a man that's interested in Pearl. You know, he immediately picked up on that. And of course, he had to be the protective one because y'all, we've come to know that's just Brian.
That's who Brian is. Yeah,
that's who Brian. That's who he is. So that was that. But you know, guys, we haven't talked about the real issue with Theo's mother.
Yeah, I kind of want to know what your insight was when you wrote that, because I still was like scratching my head with her, because here she was, her and Theo's father had this, you know, whirlwind of a relationship because of, you know, he was white, he was black. I mean, she was black. And then all of the stuff that they went through to be together. And let's just think, she was on the opposite side of the track too at some point. She may not have been farther over as they were, but
she was still on the opposite side of the track.
Right. And so for him to, for her to, you know, kind of piss on Pearl like that was just, it didn't make sense. So I thought something else
you know,
underlining was going on with her. It
let
had
me try
to be,
to explain
because their relationship was exactly like the mother and the father.
Yeah, except for they were both black.
Right.
Yeah, true.
They were both black. However, here was my thought pattern on that, and some people may get with it, some people may not. There are some people that once they get accepted into that realm of whatever class it is that they think they are supposed to be in, they don't necessarily want others in there with them. They want to be the unique one. They want to be the one that was able to cross over, right? And they don't necessarily want anyone else to come in, because then they're not unique anymore. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Because they're not unique anymore. And then the other thing is, she was actually at that time in my mind, she was one of those that didn't want to accept that she was black.
Yeah.
You know, remember she changed her hair to blonde, where she wore blonde wigs, you know, or whatever. So she changed her hair to blonde, which was crazy because the father always said he loved her natural.
Yeah. And everybody can't wear blonde.
That's true. She was one of them. And Pearl, and not Pearl, but Fire, let her know that.
Hook up. Look better than what it
Fire
is.
was gonna hook her up with what's her name around the corner. But but she also had not accepted who she was to her blackness. Her blackness. And Theo was more than open to accepting his blackness. They even got to the point where he had started doing his hair in like Pearl had did her hair.
Well, that was a bet they had. Yeah. It was a bet that they had that made him change his hair. And I knew the moment, well, not the moment, but I knew that when we got to know a little bit about his mom, I knew that hair thing was going to be an issue for her. It was going to be an issue for her.
And sure enough, it was.
It was, yeah.
But funny, it wasn't an issue for his father. It wasn't an issue for her father.
And Theo had said from the very beginning, when he was talking to his mom, when you learn that, he was a biracial child, he had said to his mom that
I got it from your blacks.
Right. But he said he tend more to relate to his black side of, his part of him. So that's what he's doing. So it was no hardship for him to put those locks in his head.
Yeah, that's what I was laughing because his mother called him early in the morning and stuff before he finished, got up and, telling him he should be on the golf course. And he said, no, Ma, I don't like the cold. Dad is from the Caucasian persuasion. And I'm more like your black side. We don't do cold too well.
And then my thing is, she forgot that he was a doctor and that he works all these hours. Like he had only had 4 hours of sleep. Who cares about a golf course?
She ain't have a life.
She didn't.
Well,
That's the other thing.
the thing about it was she was trying to groom his life to be more on the Caucasian side than on the black side. But his father just let him be
as
whoever
well.
he want to
He
be,
should have, yeah, as well.
whoever you wanted to be, you know, and he just let him be.
I think she, like you said, Iris, you know, they feel like they get into these classes, and she probably wanted him to make sure to ensure that he was always elevated, that he needed to be in that class. But she had no idea that the class that he was trying to mingle with was going to escalate him far surpass what he was
farther than what she could have even imagined. And I like when she had the remember she had the white chick sitting at the table with them.
Yes.
And when that girl knew all about Pearl and who Pearl was, and that, you know, she was press secretary for J.D. Harrison, who's running for this and that. I mean, that girl knew who Pearl was.
Right. She sure
did.
But the mother didn't respect her either way anyway. So
she apparently didn't respect the other young lady either, because it was clear that she wasn't really trying to go after Theo.
Right.
She just didn't know how to speak up for the mother.
Right.
You know, to the mother.
Right. But you know, guys, okay, now we got to talk a little bit about Joshua. Because in the last time we got together, we discussed the book of Joshua, the two books of Joshua's. And
so this was that period when he was going through that.
He was going through some things.
Yeah.
But he showed up.
He did.
He showed up. He wasn't ready to face the family.
Right.
But he showed up, and that showed us that ground roots, that ground base of family, that his parents instilled in him about family.
And in an important moment
that came through.
Right. But so that is true, Iris. But I find it very ironic and funny as when he decided, because you know during that whole period, he had been lurking around. He was never far away from family. They just didn't know it, right?
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So this was he was okay with watching this wedding from afar until Adam had got that directive from his mother. And then why he couldn't help it, he could not help himself. When there's disaster to be done, he's gonna be right there at the forefront. So at this point he decided to show his face. And then people knew he was around, though.
Because
he did the fireworks and everything, and everybody said Joshua. And they thought they was going to see him.
That's Joshua. He gonna make his presence known.
Yeah.
You know, some kind of way. Not the way you may have, like, I'm sure Sally would have loved for Joshua to have showed his face.
Right.
At that time. But he wasn't ready.
He wasn't ready. And I think the way he handled that was good too. But I also love how Adam said, and Joshua too, when, you know, who gives this person away, and then he says, and Joshua too.
Yeah.
I love that.
His brother. Yes.
But why do you think Joshua decided to get in that car? Of all times, I mean, he just got in the car, he went with Adam to do what he needed to do, and then he went back into hiding.
Because he needed to be there, for number one. And then also, remember, when there's somebody who's doing something against somebody in his family, Joshua has to show up. You know, because he's always watching. Remember, even in Samuel's book, Joshua was watching from afar these people that was watching Cynthia and Samuel.
Sure,
you know, and even though he showed up at an inopportune time,
as
Joshua does, he knew they was getting ready to get busy, and he knew Samuel was not going to be aware of what was going on. So he had to interfere. Okay, it's the same thing here. This woman had something against Pearl, and they decided that Adam.
I have one question in regards to Adam. Did the whole family know that he had the gift to hypnotize, or he just?
I don't think they knew.
Okay. No. Certain people knew.
Right.
Nephew knew. Joshua knew. Certain people knew, but no, not everyone knew really to the extent of what he can do. Because even someone asked the question in the story, they said, "Can he do that at will?"
Yeah.
And they said, "Yeah, he can." Yes, he can. And we didn't realize the extent of what he could do until Adam's book came out.
Right.
And then we knew the extent of how far Adam can really go with manipulating a person's mind.
And remember when Joshua and Samuel ran to the White House because, one of the kids wanted their father to sleep, so they thought
So
I remember.
They did not want Adam to hypnotize the president. That's treason. That's going across the line.
Yeah. But one of the kids had asked him, right? One of the kids asked him. Okay,
I think it was
Brianna that said that my daddy won't sleep, and my mama said, "You need to go take a nap somewhere."
I do remember that. Wow, there's so many things that has happened in these books that connect and everything.
That is another thing as I go back to reading these, because these are stories I haven't read in a good little while because I'm busy writing other ones. But when I go back in them, I see the connecting pieces. I see all of the pieces of the puzzle. But each one of these gems and gents, I see it slowly coming together to make them the person that you met in the wedding books.
That's why I always tell you, Iris, I love your character development, because they just like connect, like you make them like real people, and they connect from, and I'm not talking about connecting being relative, but they really connect to the story that you're portraying of that character. It's almost like watching a movie,
Yeah.
But I think it's because in my mind, no, I'm not, to my listening audience, no, I'm not crazy. But in my mind, these characters are real. I saw that Midnight. I'm not crazy, but in my mind, these characters are real. So they're going on a progression from look at Fire. Look at Fire as a child. Remember, in this book, who would have thunk it? In this book, she got set in the corner.
Right. Right.
So to see the progression of that 16-year-old, and remember, she didn't like JD. She was like, does that mean I have to start liking him now? So she didn't like JD. And now look at the relationship
between her and JD.
Fire and JD.
But even still with Fire, we met her. She was probably the only one that we kind of met as a baby, so to speak, right? And so we did get a chance to see her grow up. But from what we knew when we first met her, this loudmouth, speak your mind,
everybody's business,
girl, to what she is now, she has far surpassed every Lassiter in the family right now. She is at the head of the ham, which brings me, guys, we are talking about A Lassiter's Christmas, which is one of the earlier books in the Lassiter series. But if you followed this author's writing, you know that we're at the end of the Lassiters now. And so if you have read Luke's book, not his wedding, but Luke's book, you know that we got introduced to a part of his body, which is that tattoo of the family tree.
The family tree.
You know that, if you know Iris's writing, you know that nothing is written by chance. And so just a statement that I just made, how Fire is up at the top. She starts at the bottom, but she's up at the top. Now you see why, and you see that was not by chance that she is at the top.
It is not. And I think the other thing is Fire is just getting started.
Yeah,
she really is just getting started.
Fire is just getting started. So we have seen her grow from the baby sister to where she is now. Now she's married. She doesn't have any children at this point, but she is married and she has been established in her career now.
Yes, that
So
is
you
true.
saw all of that happening. We also saw it with Adam. Remember, Adam was in college and he blew up the darn classroom, right? So he was blowing up stuff before Joshua, so he blew up the classroom, and stuff. And now look at where Adam is now. So we saw each one of them. We've watched them grow.
Yeah,
And
Adam
in this
has
story,
interesting story. He has a very interesting story too.
yes, and in this story, we saw how Pearl ascended to where she is now, and thank
Very
goodness
true.
Theo hung around.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Thank goodness, because now they're married with children, and
I never thought.
she's about to come out of the White House, because JD, if you read Cameo's Mr. Take Me As I Am, if you read that story, JD is now in the process of they're beginning to build his presidential library, because he's on his last term as president, which means Pearl and Theo is about to have that life that Theo have always wanted.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you though, when she had her first child, I was surprised because I just
So was
didn't think.
Theo.
I literally thought that they were going to be so old by the time they figured it out that they were going to have to adopt. I literally thought that, and then now
what? I
she has
thought that too.
only one, but she has
Two.
So, honey,
Gabrielle.
In Matthew's book, Theo was upset because she was talking about going back up to DC, and she was like about ready to burst.
Right.
With the child, and that was funny. So you did get to see Pearl. You got to see all of them, but in this story, you really got to see Pearl develop into the woman, the powerful woman that she is now. Because remember, she's the one that always have Secret Service on her.
Yeah. Even when she go to jail, they take the Secret Service going on.
I love how they always are around when they come to dinner and stuff like that. But and also too remember
when she followed her mama over there to beat down.
That's the
mama.
She did, and then she told the Secret Service, stand down. Yeah. When Sally was dragging Sophia through the hallway.
But I kind of, when at that scene right there, I said to myself, these Secret Service people was like, they probably had to be saying, I didn't sign up for this. This is not how it's supposed to go.
Right.
But
they guard her in the jail.
One day I'm gonna do a series about Secret Service people, because imagine all the things they see. These people, they're supposed to be protected. All the things that they see them do, and they're not supposed to speak on it.
Yeah, they got
a lot of people
like Brian when he was on Gavin. And Gavin was looking for Carolyn. So yeah, I could imagine the stuff they see and everything.
Yeah.
So
I bet a lot of them are like drinkers for sure. Because they probably see stuff. This is funny, but in real life, they have got to see some stuff. And then you gotta
and they get to keep the Secret Service once they're out of office too.
Yeah. Some of them do. They do. All presidents.
Yeah, all presidents. I don't know about the press secretaries and nothing. Mm-hmm.
And the first ladies, they all have Secret Service, just like our Karen X. I don't know what we want to call them.
You know what they said? They were thinking about stopping that too at one point.
But they have to, when he was indicted and he had to go to the jail, they had to arrange that through Secret Service, because it is their job to still protect the ex, whatever we want to call him. So that, can you imagine what some of their stories were like? Can you imagine some of the things that they went through? That they witnessed, that they've seen. It's been it's interesting. And that is the thing about Pearl. Pearl is going to come out now. She's not going to have Secret Service with her once she leaves the workings of the White House. The president and first lady will, first family will, but not staff or anything like that. So she gets to actually come out now and live her life. And it will be interesting to see how Theo and Pearl are doing once their lives settle down.
Yeah.
That was one of those books where I thought we wanted more. I mean, we the short books, we know you couldn't write a big book on every one of them, but Pearl was one of the ones where I wanted to know, like, okay, what happens next? And so you did show us, because you sprinkled her in some of the other stories, and that baby was a big surprise to me. I was like, what? She got a baby? But yeah, it would be nice to know what they're doing now after all of the Lassiters.
Everything. Yep.
Okay, ladies, it's time for us to start wrapping up. And
I know we was just getting good.
I know. So let's do that. Are we going to start with the wine or the song?
Start with the song.
Yeah.
Okay. So my choice of song is by Mary J. Blige, and dang, I just forgot the title.
But that's not good.
She's singing "I'm Strong for Too Long and I Can't Live Without You." That's the song. That's for Pearl, because she was that strong woman, but when she saw that when
she was about to lose him,
she was about to but she saw that picture of him winning that award, and she wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
That really hit home, and it hurt her, and so that's why I chose that song.
Well, thank you. Midnight, what about your wine?
Well, the wine just was happenstance, guys. I was just happened to be drinking some wine, and then I started reading the book. So this is the pair. And it is a Cooper's Hawk Cab Zen blend. And when I thought about this, it wasn't the ones my first choice, but it works so well because a Cabernet and a Zinfandel is like two spectrums of
like Theo and
exactly
Pearl.
Like Theo and Pearl. So this actually ended up being a happenstance, but a good blend. A good pair. But the blend, it's usually unconventional to do a Cabernet and a Zinfandel. You just
that is very
right.
Together, right? But I am a lover of red blends, and so this gives us the best of both worlds, just like our couple. So that is my pair for a family, a Lassiter's Christmas is Cooper's Hawk Cab Zen, and it really is pretty good, guys. It's like real soft, but then heavy. You know what I mean? It's like really cool.
Well, all right.
Well, cool.
Yeah. So that is it, guys. This is a story. I can't wait to come back and talk about the next one. These Lassiters is a family that is you always.
Actually, Adam is next, isn't he?
I believe so. Yes, he is. He is next. So we'll be coming back with another good one, y'all.
Yeah.
And so I'm Cara Morris, also MsPrissy, and you can reach me at my social media platforms, which is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. And my email that you can contact me at is styleset.et@gmail.com. stylesett.et@gmail.com.
Yes. And I'm MidnightAce of MidnightAce Book Bar, and I can be reached at social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest at MidnightAce Book Bar. And my website is www.midnightacebookbar.com.
And I am Iris Bolling. I can be reached first and foremost on my website, which is www.irisbolling.com. And then I can be reached on Facebook and Instagram as Iris Bolling, and on Twitter as Author I Bolling. Come on out and check us out. When we're not here, that's where we're acting crazy at.
And we always acting crazy here too. So yeah,
That's true.
spread the love all around.
Well, there you go.
Well, there you go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.